Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leader in rushing, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Just want to give you guys a quick update as Matt LaFleur met with the media a little less than an hour ago, talking about some of the injury updates and just kind of getting ready for practice today. Obviously, they're probably out there practicing right now, so we'll give you guys some more updates as the day goes along. But obviously, the big news, there's a couple of key players that might be potentially returning. Actually, several key players. You know, you talk about Josh Jacobs, who had the knee injury on that hard surface out there in Jersey playing against the Giants on Sunday. We're going to give you guys an update on that. You've also got Jaden Reed, right? Is he planning on coming back sooner rather than later, right? We kind of talked about the tweet he put out the other day. So I still haven't heard anything on that. We'll dive into that a little bit, though, as well. Brandon McManus, will he be kicking this week? Will it be Lucas Haversick? So we're going to dive into all that and give you guys an update on Josh Jacobs based off of Matt LaFleur's comments. Before we do, if you guys would do that YouTube stuff for me, hit like, hit subscribe. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your day. We're not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media members. We're fans just like you, breaking it all down on the Daily Talking Packers. So if you're looking for that type of content, make sure you hit subscribe and click that bell icon so you're notified when we go live here in the future. Let's jump into it. So Wes Hodkiewicz kind of summing it up really briefly here with the Matt LaFleur press conference on Josh Jacobs, saying LaFleur on Josh Jacobs' knee, quote, "We're going to warm him up through Indy and see how he's doing." Okay, now if you're wondering, Indy, were they going to Indianapolis? No, that stands for individual drills, as Weston Hodkiewicz had confirmed there. So they're going to have him go through individual drills today at practice to kind of see how the knee responds. Now, obviously, we have seen no pictures of the knee, and they're not going to show us any pictures of the knee. You've seen some contusion pictures, and the knee is extremely swollen. You've seen others that's just a slight looking bruise. But I imagine it was pretty bad for them to take him out of the game there. Maybe they were being precautionary with the testing as well. I also wouldn't be surprised if Josh Jacobs plays in this game, because he's just that type of dude. He's that type of guy that wants to be on the field with his teammates. And, if I had to guess one way or another, I would say he's probably going to go. If they were worried about anything structurally being vulnerable, they would not have him doing individual drills this soon. So it's just a matter of, can he handle the pain tolerance? We all know he can. It's Josh Jacobs. He's Superman, right? And then the other thing is there a greater risk of injuring that knee any further or causing the swelling to increase? You know, that's been a big topic in Green Bay the last, several years, all the way back. You think of David Bakhtiari, that was a big problem with his knee. It kept swelling up. Same thing kept happening to Jair Alexander, to the point where both of those players, to the best of my knowledge, they had to constantly drain those knees. So you want to be really careful with the swelling. Much different because you had those guys go through a surgical procedure, if I remember correctly. Josh Jacobs, obviously a contusion, is just kind of a strong bruise. So hopefully there's nothing there. But again, if I had to put money on it, I would say he's probably going to play this week. And our buddy Baz seems to agree here on X as well. Alexander Basarski, if you guys follow this channel, I'm sure you're following his YouTube channel. Awesome channel, friend of the show, comes on the show from time to time. He just quote tweeted Sleeper NFL that said Josh Jacobs' knee is expected to participate in individual drills during Thursday's practice, and said he's playing. So me and Baz seem to be on the same page there. I would be very surprised if Josh Jacobs does not play come Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings. And it might be one of those things like we talked about earlier in the week too, where I could see them having him active, but really lean on Emmanuel Wilson. Then you get on crucial downs, down and distances, situations where maybe you want to involve him in the passing game a little bit too, which is where he's been very effective this year as well. And then maybe, okay, if you have important plays like that, okay, let's get him out there on this 3rd and 3. And he's got fresh legs, right? And it might be something that if you're lucky enough to capitalize on the mistakes that J.J. McCarthy has made up to this point for the Vikings, turning the ball over a lot, maybe you find yourself with a 10-point lead or a 14-point lead, and you go, you know what? Keep him on the bench unless we need him. Could be one of those type of deals too, right? So we'll see if he does play what the snap count will be. I can't imagine he would have a full workload though. It'll probably be something where they kind of limit him in that regard. But yeah, I'm on board with Baz. I think there's a great chance that he's going to play this Sunday. Now let's talk about how Josh Jacobs has played this year. Okay, let's dive into the PFF grades. When you sort PFF grades amongst running backs by offensive grade, Josh Jacobs is actually graded out as the 7th best running back this year. Okay. Now that's even in spite of the offensive line struggling to run block. I think we would all agree. I was listening to Bulaga on the Wildy and Tao show here just a few minutes ago, and it kind of makes you wonder if Josh Jacobs can't go this week. You guys remember they ran a lot of outside zone with Emmanuel Wilson in-house along with Aaron Jones when Emmanuel Wilson first made it onto the Packers roster. I think they signed him off of Denver's practice squad, if I remember correctly. So maybe they press into a little more outside zone, a little more flow, right? And if Josh Jacobs isn't in the lineup, and maybe that unlocks something with this offensive line, because you did go from – I don't think it's any coincidence that the second Josh Jacobs arrived, even though he's produced like one of the top backs in the league, you've seen the offensive line play dip. Well, it's because everything you've done as Matt LaFleur, not everything, the majority of what you've done in the running game with Matt LaFleur as the head coach of the Green Bay Packers has kind of played off of outside zone run, whether it's boot flow, split flow, whatever it is you're specifically calling on any given play. Everything's geared around wide zone boot scheme, right? Well, Josh Jacobs arrives, and all of a sudden you really pressed heavily into duo and a little bit of power, a little bit of pin and pull, some counter, things like that. Now, you've always ran in pin and pull. It's a zone run with a portion of the offensive line / tight ends that pin and another portion of the offensive line that pulls. That's why it's called pin and pull. But it is kind of a zone type scheme. It's not a exact gap like a power or a counter scheme. So with all that being said, maybe they press into a little outside zone if Josh Jacobs isn't in the lineup. But nonetheless, Josh Jacobs, 80.9, grading out really, really well. His run grade is 78.3. But the big thing I want you to key in on, the X factor for Josh Jacobs since he got to Green Bay, and it's funny too, because with the Raiders, this was basically non-existent. We knew he could catch the football coming out of Alabama, but then he got to the pros, and it was like, I don't think he had even had a single receiving touchdown until he got to Green Bay. So it's like they couldn't unlock that with him out there with the Vegas Raiders. But nonetheless, with Green Bay this year, an 88.1 receiving grade at the running back position is really, really impressive. So that's been something that's gotten unlocked with Josh Jacobs when he came to Green Bay. And that's a huge factor in the game plan, in my opinion, too, man. You want him catching the football out of the backfield. Now, can Emmanuel Wilson catch the ball? Absolutely, he can catch the ball. But it's not his strong point. That's something that Josh Jacobs has proven he can do. I was going to see if we could find Emmanuel Wilson. Of course, he may not have, probably ain't got the amount of snaps. If we ignore the minimum snaps here for just a second, let's see if we can find Emmanuel, because I imagine he's significantly lower. There's Chris Brooks at a 67. Let's climb on down just a little bit. I want to see what Emmanuel Wilson's receiving grade is here according to PFF. So Emmanuel Wilson's overall grade, 55.9. Yeah, receiving grade is a 29.9 for – no, that's pass blocking. I apologize. Let me go back down real quick. Emmanuel Wilson's receiving grade is a 39.4. So if you do have to lean on Emmanuel Wilson, who we all have a lot of confidence in running the rock, he's struggled in the passing game according to PFF. Again, take it for what it's worth there. That's an aspect, however, of the offense that I think is really, really unlocked when Josh Jacobs is on the field for sure. Let's hop over to NFL Pro now, and I want to point out what another thing Josh Jacobs has been really good at. Now, you'll notice his yards per carry are down this year, right? Like if we go he's second in the league in rushing touchdowns, right, at 11. You're thinking, oh, hell, he's second best running back in the league. Well, 3.8 yards per carry. Now, immediately people go, well, that's because the offensive line sucks. Well, if the offensive line sucks at run blocking, you look at PFF, they kind of agree. They think Green Bay does struggle to run block. However, PFF has always graded the Green Bay Packer offensive line and run blocking extremely low since Matt LaFleur got here, which led me to believe whoever's watching the tape at PFF, maybe they don't understand that zone scheme as well as someone who watches the Packers on a regular basis. However, 3.8 yards per carry, if you want to chalk it up to the offensive line, to me, I can't do that. And I'm going to explain why. If you look at some of the advanced metrics over here on NFL Pro, rushing yards over expected, right? He kind of removes that stuff. When you're talking about these specific situations, he's a minus 27. Like that's pretty bad. Rushing yards over expected per carry is a minus 0.2. So that would suggest he's not doing the things that he did last year, whereas rushing yards over expected were through the roof. He's not doing those things as well this year as he did last year. However, he is catching the ball really well, and he's got 11 rushing touchdowns. You get inside the 10, Josh Jacobs is not going to be denied, right? And then, of course, the rush EPA, right? Rush expected points added is a minus 7.7. Look at that comparatively speaking to the other guys leading in touchdowns here. Jonathan Taylor is at a plus 30.5. Josh Jacobs is a minus 7.7. Javonte Williams, a plus 2.6. Again, Josh Jacobs, minus 7.7. Jahmyr Gibbs, a plus 2.5. So you can kind of see, you got to get down to Derrick Henry. His is a minus 19.9. So according to the rushing EPA, according to NFL Pro, Derrick Henry's having kind of a down year there as well. However, when you look at Derrick Henry's yards per carry, 4.9 yards per carry. Again, Josh Jacobs is 3.8. So some of those advanced metrics, like right here, rushing yards after contact per carry, okay? 3.1 for Josh Jacobs after contact, right? Jonathan Taylor, 4.7. Javonte Williams, 4.0. Jahmyr Gibbs, only 2.9, so he's better than him there. Actually, let's just sort that. Let's sort by yards after contact, if we can get it to refresh here. I want to see where Josh Jacobs ranks there, just comparatively speaking, across the league. Here we go. So leading the league, and I wonder if let's see if Josh should still stay on the list if we go qualified rushers only. Let's remove some more of that noise. So Jonathan Taylor, 4.7, Devon Achane, 4.4, Bijan Robinson, 4.2, Javonte Williams right there. Let's see if he's actually on this list. Is he? Josh Jacobs is 28th in rushing yards after contact per carry. Guys, that was his bread and butter last year. So again, I'm not trying to spell doom and gloom for Josh Jacobs. I just want to look at everything. The PFF grade says he's the 8th best back in the league. A lot of that, though, is his receiving grade, as you could see on that grade breakdown. And then when you go into the yards per carry, that would suggest he's having a down year. Well, the offensive line's bad. Okay, what about the yards after contact? He's 28th best this year. So he's definitely not performed running the ball quite like he did last year. But man, oh man, that 11 touchdowns is really, really impressive, especially when you're inside the 10 and needing to put points on the board. Again, you guys take all that information and do with it what you want. I'm just trying to cover all the bases and give you all the data that we can find on the situation. Let's see what O'Day Drum says in the chat. Yo, Clayton, the O-line seems to work better moving. In fact, Mike Wall pointed that out in his video yesterday. They don't line up in power as well, I believe is what he's saying there. Thoughts? Again, it's you think about it. Matt LaFleur came in 2019. And it's wide zone boot, wide zone boot, wide zone boot. A little bit of McCarthy's offense left over, but mainly wide zone boot. And then you get into the RPO game, which is still, you can still run zone off of RPO, right? You just can't get too aggressive downfield. They went RPO heavy during Aaron Rodgers' MVP years there, those two back-to-back years, right? So you go 2019, 2020, 2021, right? 2022. So there's 4 years of zone scheme heavy, zone heavy, right? You started pressing to duo a little bit. Then in 2023, bang, now we're running a lot of duo, right? Now we're running a lot of power, things like that. Okay, so with that being said, going that route, now you've got 2 years under your belt with Josh Jacobs in-house, and it makes sense that this offensive line is struggling to block like that, seeing that the first 4 years, now you're going, okay, how many of those guys were around? It's a fair point. Zach Tom was here during that time for at least a portion. We know Elton Jenkins was here for the entirety of it. Rasheed Walker is going into, this is his 4th year, right? So, yeah, a lot of those guys that are starting, they came up in that zone blocking scheme early on in Matt LaFleur's offensive install. And now all of a sudden you look up and things have changed a lot. So I think it's a fair point. I do. And listen, I will always defer to a former player when it comes to breaking this stuff down. Mike Wall is one of the best in the business to break down offensive line plays. So when he talks, I shut up, right? So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do, because again, if Emmanuel Wilson, he was a back that was here before Jacobs got here. So he's seen some of that zone heavy look, right? And outside zone runs. So I would like to, and I've been very vocal, see them get more into outside zone, and I think Josh Jacobs can run it. Outside zone isn't just about cutting the corner and getting the sideline. Outside zone is designed to get the defense moving horizontally and then cut back off of that, right? And I think Josh Jacobs could be damn good at that. But again, they're watching him practice. They know what their guys are good at and what they're not good at. So we just got to kind of defer to the coaches and say, okay, they know what they're doing, right? So anyway, that's just kind of a little breakdown there. One other update, and we'll get you guys out of here, is our buddy Paul Brettel tweeted this out. He said, Matt LaFleur said McManus, talking about Brandon McManus, had a really good day kicking on Wednesday. So it sounds like everything's trending toward Brandon McManus returning to the lineup this week. You guys let us know in the comments what you think about that. Would you rather stick with Haversick, even though he struggled in the wind out there in Jersey on Sunday? Now, listen, I know there's some people that get mad when I mention the wind. Well, it's football. You got to be able to kick in the wind. I agree, right? But there's others that think Haversick, all of a sudden, everything was an absolute just an absolute fluke, the success he had up to this point, hitting his first 10 kicks and setting the franchise record for the longest kick. But you go into the Windy City, you got to take, or I say the Windy City, you go into New Jersey where that wind was, you got to take that into account, though, right? You've got to. So I'm eager to see what they do moving forward. I still think McManus is the better kicker when he's healthy. If he's not healthy, let Haversick go out there and see if he continues to do what he does. Because the longer that you let Haversick kick while McManus gets healthy, you get a true evaluation of how Haversick reacts in the game, right? And we need to know, do we need to continue to carry two kickers? Is Haversick potentially the kicker of the future? We need to find that stuff out. So now the other thing there, the boring part of this that there's really no reason for us to even have a conversation about it because we're not there, is they're kicking in practice. So the coaches have a better look at these guys than anybody. There's a reason they went with Haversick over McManus. It's probably because McManus's leg tightened up on Saturday morning like they said. And then also they probably were happy with the way Haversick kicked during the week. That would lend you to believe that, okay, the win was just a factor. It's, Haversick is still okay. So we will see how that goes. Sixish in the chat says that win had something to do with all that for sure. I think the majority of the fan base, Sixish, agree with you. But you guys let us know in the comment what you think about McManus. More importantly, let us know in the comments what do you think about Josh Jacobs. What do you think about the outside zone talk and how the scheme has changed since Josh Jacobs got here? And let us know what you think about Josh Jacobs' performance up to this point this year, too. Again, I think he's still one of the best backs in the league. I just wanted to include all the information to say, hey, this is just something to kind of keep our eye on moving forward. Is it going to be something that maybe Josh Jacobs isn't going to be as effective as he was last year, that type of thing, right? So we'll keep our eye on it. So you guys let us know in the comments what you think. We'll be back probably before 6 p.m. Central tonight. I've got a couple other videos I want to cut. I would rather cut them live so we can get some kind of live reaction, and then we'll just edit them out into regular videos as we go as well. Everybody jumping in here, and we're out right as y'all are jumping in. I apologize, gang. You guys can rewind it back, go back, watch the video. Just a little Josh Jacobs updates, all this was. But if this was your first time tuning into PTA, thanks for hanging out. Make sure you guys hit subscribe, click that bell icon so you're notified. Hit the like button as well, but that way you're notified when we go live in the future, like later on this afternoon for a little Rashawn Gary talk, breaking down the numbers. Is he struggling as bad as some of the media is making it out to be? Christian Watson, boy, if you guys are in the Patreon group, you've seen the article I put up, all kinds of game tape and everything, breaking down how effective he's been absolutely awesome. We'll hit on that a little later as well. But again, hit that like button, hit the bell icon. We'll see you guys in a little bit. My name's Clayton. This is PTA. Go Pack Go.
Here we go.
Bye, guys.